Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today.
Oh, sounds exciting.
It is, it is. We're going to be looking at UK Vice-Chancellor pay.
That's a hot topic.
Yeah, it is. We've got some recent data analysis from Times Higher Education. Some of the findings are, well,
Surprising.
yeah, surprising, a little bit shocking, maybe even.
Yeah.
It seems like there are some real head-scratchers in here.
Like what kind of stuff are we talking about?
Well, everyone's been talking about financial pressures on universities.
Right.
But you'd think those at the top, maybe they'd be feeling the pinch, too.
You'd think so, yeah.
But according to the HE Vice-Chancellor pay packages, they've actually seen some pretty big increases.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's not trickling upwards, so to speak.
Well, no, it's going the other way.
Interesting.
So the question is it justified? Or is there something else going on?
Yeah, good question. What does the data actually say?
Well, this found that the median pay package for a UK Vice-Chancellor in 2023-24, get this, was over £340,000.
Wow.
That's a 13% jump since 2020-21.
That's significant, especially when you think about inflation.
Yeah, I know everyone's talking about inflation, but still that seems like a pretty big leap.
Yeah.
Especially when you compare it to, regular university staff. What are they getting?
Yeah, what about the rank and file?
The rank and file.
Are they seeing those kinds of increases?
Not even close. So sector-wide pay rise for them was 2% or £1,000, whichever's higher.
Oof, that's quite a contrast.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Yeah.
So, what kind of explanation is there for that?
Yeah, what's the rationale?
Like, what's the deal?
Well, there's probably a lot of factors at play.
Okay.
But before we get into all of that, I think it's worth pointing out some institutions are giving out massive pay packages.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, how massive are we talking?
Well, for example, the University of Leeds, they paid out a total of £694,000.
Whoa.
And London Metropolitan University came in at £595,000.
Wait. Those numbers, they're way higher than the median we just talked about.
Right.
What's going on there?
Good catch. Those figures actually include exit packages for departing vice-chancellors.
Oh, okay. So it's not their, annual salary.
Right. It's not their typical yearly pay.
So it's like a golden handshake.
Exactly, a golden handshake.
Okay. So those are going to skew the numbers a bit then.
They're outliers.
Outliers, yeah.
But even taking those into account, vice-chancellor pay is definitely on the rise.
Yeah, it seems like it is. So who are these top earners? What are their names?
And how are these institutions justifying these big increases?
Yeah, how do they explain it?
Well, Thee pointed to a few specific examples. For example, there's Deborah Prentice at Cambridge.
Okay.
She got a 16% increase.
Wow.
Bringing her total compensation to £577,000.
Okay, that's a lot of money. What was their reasoning for such a big jump?
Well, and keep in mind, this included £42,000 just for relocation expenses.
Relocation expenses, £42,000.
Yeah. So Cambridge, they argue they need to offer competitive compensation to attract and retain top talent.
Okay, I guess I can see that.
Especially, given their position as a world-leading university.
But wouldn't that logic just keep driving salaries higher and higher?
That is the worry, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's something we'll be digging into a bit later on.
Okay.
It's not just happening at Cambridge, though. Jerry McCormack at the University of Stirling got a base salary of £414,000.
Oh, wow.
A 14% increase.
Another big jump.
Yeah. And then there's Nishan Kanagaraja at Leicester. He got a 14% salary uplift, too, taking home £328,000 in base pay.
So these double-digit increases, it's not just the elite institutions then.
No.
Seems like it's pretty widespread.
Yeah, it's a trend. And it really shows the huge range of salaries in the sector.
Yeah.
On the lower end, you've got Victoria Nairn at the University of the Highlands and Islands,
Right.
earning £189,000.
So less than half of what McCormack makes.
Yeah, quite a difference.
Yeah, so what contributes to such a wide range? What makes one vice-chancellor worth twice as much as another?
It's a tough question, and there's no easy answer. But to understand these discrepancies, we need to look at how they decide on vice-chancellor pay.
Okay, let's do it. How do they figure out those salaries?
What goes into the decision? Is there some secret formula they're using?
Yeah, spill the beans.
Well, there's no secret formula, really, but there are definitely some key mechanisms at play.
Okay.
One of the big ones is benchmarking.
Benchmarking. Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard that term before.
Right.
But I don't really get what it means in this context.
So basically, universities look at salaries for vice-chancellors at, similar institutions, and they use that data to set their own pay scales.
Okay, so they're just looking around at what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, the idea is to stay competitive,
Yeah.
attract the best people.
I see. So it's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses.
Exactly.
So for university leadership.
Yeah, for university leadership, exactly.
Okay, so they're saying, well, the vice-chancellor over at that university is making this much, so ours should too.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And here's where it gets tricky. This benchmarking, it can often lead to what's called a ratchet effect.
A ratchet effect. Okay, now I'm really curious. What is that?
So think of a ratchet, the tool, right?
Right.
It only goes one way.
Up.
Up, exactly. So with benchmarking, salaries tend to, well, they only go up.
Ah, I see.
Institutions are often benchmarking against those who are paying even more.
Oh, okay.
So you get this upward spiral. Salaries just keep going up and up.
So even if some universities try to keep salaries reasonable,
Right.
others might be pushing the boundaries,
Yeah.
and everyone else feels like they have to keep up.
Exactly. It's like an arms race for vice-chancellor pay.
Yeah, like an arms race.
Yeah.
It's a good analogy.
And, it's self-perpetuating.
Right.
It's really tough to rein in those top-tier salaries once it gets going.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And it's important to note, the data also showed a big difference between Russell Group universities and, well, everyone else.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask about that. What was the difference there?
The median pay package for a Russell Group vice-chancellor was £397,000.
397,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. For those of us who aren't, experts in the UK higher education system,
Right.
what is the Russell Group exactly?
Good point. So it's basically a group of 24 leading UK universities.
Okay.
Known for their research. You could think of them as the UK's Ivy League.
Okay, the UK's Ivy League.
Yeah.
Got it. So these Russell Group institutions, they're arguing they need to pay a premium to, attract the best people.
Right.
But is that the only factor? Because the data also showed 7 out of 10 of the highest paid vice-chancellors were at London institutions.
That's right.
So is there a London effect happening too?
Probably, yeah. Higher cost of living in London.
Right.
That plays a role, for sure. Plus, London is like a global hub for higher ed.
Yeah.
It attracts people from all over the world. So London universities, they might feel even more pressure to offer those competitive packages.
Right, so they're competing on, like, an international stage,
Exactly.
not just within the UK. But let's not forget the elephant in the room here.
Okay.
These rising pay packages, they're happening at a time when lots of people are worried about the finances of UK higher ed in general.
That's a good point.
Is there a disconnect here?
Yeah, there's definitely a tension there. And the analysis found that over $200 million was spent on severance pay just in 2023-24.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a huge sum. And it could be going to, well, other things.
Right, yeah.
And understandably, there's been some criticism of these high salaries,
Yeah,
especially from people who actually work at the universities.
yeah, of course.
Jo Grady, the general secretary of the University and College Union, she called the figures sickening, given all the redundancies and course closures.
Yeah, I can see why she'd say that.
A lot of people feel like when universities are facing money problems, leadership should be setting an example.
Right, like tightening their own belts first.
Exactly, before making cuts that affect staff and students.
Yeah, it's about shared sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do these high salaries go over with university staff?
Right.
It can't be good for morale.
It's definitely a concern when you see your leaders getting big raises
Yeah.
while you're facing job insecurity, or your wages are staying the same.
Right.
It can cause some resentment and distrust.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not exactly a recipe for a, happy and productive workplace.
Not really, no.
And it also has to, damage public perception of universities.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When people see these huge sums going to executive compensation, they start to wonder about the priorities of higher education,
Yeah.
especially when tuition fees are so high.
Yeah.
And a lot of graduates are struggling with student loan debt.
Yeah. People are already skeptical about the value of higher ed these days.
Yeah.
This isn't helping.
No, it's not. And then there's the question of financial sustainability, too.
Right.
If universities keep prioritizing these big salaries,
Yeah.
it could mean more cuts elsewhere.
To things like
Teaching staff, research funding, student support services.
things that actually matter.
Exactly.
And that impacts the quality of education.
Absolutely. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. So the reader comments on the article, they must be interesting.
They are. They are. It's a good snapshot of how all of this is playing out.
What are people saying?
Well, there's a lot of criticism of the pay gap between vice-chancellors and regular staff.
Yeah.
People are concerned about the optics of it all.
Yeah, like one rule for them, another for everyone else.
Exactly. Some are also worried about the long-term finances of the sector,
Makes sense.
especially the reliance on international student fees.
Right, right.
They're saying universities need to be more careful with their money,
Okay.
and vice-chancellor pay is a good place to start.
So are there any voices of support for these pay increases?
There are a few. Some people acknowledge that certain institutions are doing the right thing by not raising vice-chancellor pay.
Okay, so not everyone's caught up in this, like, benchmarking frenzy.
Exactly. It's not all doom and gloom.
Okay, good. So it seems like there's a real range of opinions on this.
For sure.
But where do we go from here? What are some potential solutions?
Yeah, it's a real dilemma, isn't it? Universities need good leadership.
Right.
And to get the best people, you have to pay them well.
You do.
But then there's the issue of fairness and, sustainability and the impact on the whole system.
Yeah, how do you find that balance?
That's the big question,
Yeah.
right? So what's the way forward? Well, there's no magic bullet.
Right.
But there are things we can do to, approach this more thoughtfully.
Okay.
One idea is more transparency around how they decide on vice-chancellor pay.
So, like, open up that black box a little bit.
Exactly.
How would that work?
Well, they could publish, clear reasons for their salary decisions,
Right.
make those performance metrics public,
Right.
and even maybe involve students and staff in the process.
So, like, getting more voices at the table.
Yeah, make it more accountable.
Okay, I like that idea.
It could help with that perception of secrecy that a lot of people have.
Right, yeah.
Another idea is to think about different ways to decide on compensation. For instance, tie it more to performance.
You mean, like, how well they're doing at their job?
Yeah, but specifically related to things like teaching and research.
And student outcomes.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's not just about attracting talent.
Right.
It's about rewarding them for achieving goals.
Goals that benefit everyone.
Exactly, the whole university.
The old university, right?
I like that.
It's about finding that balance,
Yeah.
Universities need strong leaders.
Of course.
But it shouldn't be at the expense of everyone else.
Right, the staff, the students,
Yeah.
the long-term health of the institution.
It's about recognizing that a university is an ecosystem.
It's all connected.
Exactly. All connected.
You can't have those at the top
No.
doing well while everyone else is struggling.
You can't.
Well, this deep dive's been really insightful.
It has.
I think you did a great job explaining all of this.
Well, thank you.
It's a complex issue,
It is.
but I think our listeners now have a better understanding of it.
I hope so.
So now we want to hear from you, the listeners.
Yes. What are your thoughts?
What do you think should determine vice-chancellor pay?
What are some new ways to approach this?
Let us know in the comments.
Do you want to hear your ideas?
Because this is a conversation that needs to include everyone.
Everyone.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of UK vice-chancellor pay.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time.